Thanks for staying with us. You're welcome back. The program is still Breakfast Weekend. And for those of you that want to join our discussion on Twitter and Facebook, our handle is IATV Africa. You can join the discussion on hashtag IATVBW or hashtag BWIATV. This is another segment of the program, and we are going to be discussing the electoral bill. And recently, President Muhammadu Buhari refused for the fourth time to assent to the bill as passed by the National Assembly. And this has generated a lot of arguments and debates among the political divides and also the general populace in Nigeria. With us in the studio this morning to discuss this is a public affairs analyst, Mr. Dayo Ogunbowale. Mr. Dayo, you're welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
A very good morning to you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start this by asking, let's know where you actually sway. Are you with the legislature or are you with the executive?
Neither here nor there. I'm for good governance. Because if you look at it, elections are fast approaching, and the average politician is thinking about himself first. Not like they've always thought about the people at any time. But, I mean, elections are coming. The average politician, whether in the legislature or in the executive, wherever they find themselves, they are thinking about re-elections. They are thinking about, for those who might not be coming back or whatever, they're thinking about how to place someone in position. And, of course, for the executive, because we understand President Muhammadu Buhari is contesting for a second term, so he wants anything and everything that will ensure he gets back there. He would not shoot himself in the leg. So when you talk about the electoral bill, you must look at it from the angle or perspective of who benefits from this, who loses from this. And of course, when you look at the legislature, I hope you understand that we have a legislature, both the upper and the lower chamber, the red and green chamber. We both have in both chambers the opposition being the head.
Yes.
So you must understand, so that when they come out with a statement, you can understand that this is not just the legislature talking, but also the voice of the opposition. We will most definitely not be able to remove partisan politics from trying to pick a side. If I said,
sorry if I may come in, Mr. Dai. You said something about President Buhari not wanting to shoot himself in the leg.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Definitely. Well, that might make me go back a bit to like do a maybe like few minutes of recap on the whole story. You mentioned rightly that this is the fourth time that President Muhammadu Buhari will be rejecting, or let's just say the executive will be rejecting that particular bill, and that tells you point blank that either Mr. President or the presidency, let me use that word now, because I'm going to be most likely indicting some people in that presidency and not just President Muhammadu Buhari. Yes, just brace for impact. Now, either they are trying to play a waiting game.
Okay.
Because if I give something to someone to go do and it comes back with an error, the onus is on me to highlight all the errors.
Sure.
Okay. My friend, go back, fix these things. This in plural now, THESE. Fix these things and don't come back to me until you fixed it. Now, me waiting for you to come back and repeat error number 2. And now I point out, okay, this is the second error. Yeah, go back and fix it. And now wait for you to come back and fix error number 3. Something else is playing out there. Don't forget, like I said I most likely will be indicting persons in the presidency. Don't forget, I have a vice president who's a professor of law of evidence.
Yes.
Okay, so and people try to like remove the professor from all this and say it's Buhari. Hello, they talk. They are neighbors. Okay, if you want leave office, they are neighbors. They live around each other. So I mean, this is the whole villa is one, and I want to tell you point blank here that the federal government, the executive now, cannot openly come out and tell us that they are not playing a waiting game.
Apart from the waiting game, is it possible that both the executive, who is failing to highlight the errors in the act, and the legislature, who are choosing to, almost putting forward the same thing each time, is it possible that those booby traps are intentionally being put there for probably an ulterior motive come the election?
I think I'll go with you. It's not impossible that this is also a game plan by the legislature themselves. there was this notion out there being pushed out that it's not impossible that they might be planning to override, and I laugh. I said, this is not the time for that. By virtue of the laws we have, and even the ECOWAS treaty, we cannot
to override the veto.
Yeah, I mean
they have outrightly, threatened that.
Are you referring to INEC or
no, I'm talking of the legislature. Now.
Okay.
Trying to like override Mr. President and say, see, we will veto this, whether or not you assent to it, because that's what they're waiting for now. So the plan might really not work, and I have my reasons.
Why?
It's out there. Okay, the time is already short, and trying to push this now, because whether we like it or not, passing that particular bill will have some financial implications.
Sure.
Definitely, to have financial implications. Not only that, apart from financial, there will be some structural shakeups that INEC will need to quickly put in place within that and see, we do not manufacture some of these cards, card readers as it were, even though INEC has maintained that they will be using the card readers. I mean, come what may, they will be using it. But let me just quickly make it clear here. No government will pass such a bill a few days to election. February 16 is almost here.
Do you think this is a threat to a free and fair election in 2019?
Personally, I don't think so. And why do I not think so? We had elections in 2015, even though statistics are out there that over 60% of people that voted without the card reader, and they voted, so over 60% of people that voted for the APC voted without the card reader, the incidence form and all that, people claiming that probably those are underage and this and that, different reasons. But you see, if it favored them, then you could work against them in these coming elections, because whether we like it or not, President Muhammadu Buhari is not as popular as it used to be then. It was Buhari or nothing else. People were there. But he's really not that popular. Don't also forget that he's contesting against a fellow Northerner, not just a fellow Northerner, a fellow Fulani man. Okay? And trying to bring all this into the foray, you'll be surprised that, see, what the indices that favored him then are really not that much there now. Number one, popular in the news here is the issue of the candidate that I just mentioned. Do you know that the second time that this legislature forwarded this same bill to the presidency, the candidate was not mentioned? That's it. They didn't mention it. They didn't bring it up. It was the presidency that returned it, of which they should have issues there. Why not list all the things that are not working? Okay? But then, if you believe that you are for good governance, if you believe that you are for free and fair elections, why are you omitting the candidate? Don't tell me that's an oversight. The candidate is too massive a point to say you mistakenly left it out. It was the presidency that highlighted it and said, see, you guys go back and put this in. So on the part of the legislature too, they have issues. Plenty of them.
They don't seem to be ready to want to effect the changes that the president is asking them to do.
They have been in this business of recanting regularly, where they will, maybe when the bill gets returned, they'll quickly shout, but then over time you see the committee coming back, and then probably you see the Senate leader Lawan coming and say, actually we were wrong, we'll go back and work on it. They've done that like 3 times now. So and even this 4th time they've gone back to say, okay, I think there's a reason why Mr. President has seen this. I think the 3rd time the error was like official error. Say, the secretariat is used. Some things were not rightly written. I said, really?
I think on both sides of the divide, the use of technology is being treated with some reluctance.
You're right.
Do you think we should be looking at an election from 2019 or even beyond? We need to go more technological in our elections. Most countries in the world have adopted that, but we seem to just want the old take thing each time. Some people raise the issue of it being easy to manipulate, hackers can get in, but do you think it's best at this time in our democracy to have technology being introduced?
When people say hackers, I said, wow, really? Employ hackers now to manage your software. It's not really a big deal. There are bigger, servers out there, bigger. People put stuff in the cloud and nothing happens. The only challenge that we have is that we have a set of leaders who are really not that tech savvy themselves. And so they find it hard to believe that these things can actually work and be foolproof. That's the only challenge I see us having here. And so these are things we need to begin to quickly look at. And this is a country where we have all what it takes. I keep telling people that. Yes, we might not have all what it takes on ground. They might be in the diaspora. But we have people who can handle these things. For God's sake, people vote with SMS now on the big brother, and nothing happens. So when people begin to say or begin to throw the idea that if we vote on the internet or if we vote this way and all that, people might hack it. Hello, there's an election monitoring group in Nigeria that's been monitoring elections since 2007. In 2011, they launched an app. I won't do advert for them, so I won't mention the name of the app. They launched an app which is open source. That app for election monitors, wherever their observers are or their people who monitor elections are, they just upload open source from anywhere around the country, and these guys plot the data and they get facts. Something happened in the recent supplementary election held in Osun State. You notice that I think the UK envoy to Nigeria and I think yes the US envoy or representatives, both of them came out to give their own idea and opinion about what happened there, and they were able to give factual evidence that see this election we are not too sure about it. Why were they able to say that? It's because some people had sat who ran parallel observing aside INEC now. I mean, there were monitoring groups who came there and were taking notes, and places where they were not allowed to take notes, they observed it too. So there are applications, not even one, not two, not three. There are, technological innovations that can handle elections even bigger than us. The US, they are over 300 million. We are less than 200 million. Okay, so the voting population is even less than 100 million. The total registered voters are less than 100 million. So it's really not a big deal as it were. Mind you, all the elections are not happening in one day. Okay,
Sure.
so I think I want to maintain that point that the challenge we have in Nigeria is not a lack or the unavailability of credible or ready enough technology. The challenge we have is of leaders who are themselves not tech savvy and do not trust these technological innovations enough to allow them do something.
But why would they not trust it?
Because they don't really get to use it. Themselves are really not there. The average politician, maybe those 60 years and above, a good number of them are not physically on social media. A good number of them are not that tech savvy.
Managing it for them.
Exactly, there are PAs and SAs. There's SA new media. That's what they call it. New media, social media, as it were. So these guys do it for them. Now, I'm not trying to castigate anybody. No. Some people are born after computer. That's what they call them, born after computer. Kind of like so. But there's a way you upgrade yourself, and you be open enough to welcome innovation.
What do you think is really about these people not being comfortable using these things? There's more to it.
If they know the benefits, understand what is at stake here,
I don't want to believe is because they don't know how to use these things themselves.
Okay.
I feel maybe there's an ulterior motive somewhere as regards the outcome of the elections. They want the election to go in a particular direction, and then they feel if we use this, it may not. Don't you think that could be the reason why it's taking us so long to adopt
I'll take a cue from the recent elections in Ekiti and Osun State. One thing is clear: ballot stuffing, ballot snatching is gradually being eroded. It's gradually getting out. I'm not saying it's totally out, but it's gradually. You hardly have such cases any longer, which means votes have started to count.
Okay.
Take it or drop it, and that is why votes are being bought. I've said a lot of things now, but I'll try join them together. I'm going back to where I started from. Ballot stuffing, ballot snatching, it's gradually getting eroded. Votes have started to count, and because votes have started to count, votes are being bought. Okay, so these guys understand that if people are allowed to vote and mercenaries are not arranged, people are not brought in who actually did not initially pre-register in such a location. If these guys are not allowed to vote in such a place, people's intent, people's will actually be reflected in the election. And this is clear. This is what can also happen via technology. If the only way you can log in into that particular platform is if you have registered with the original PVC, that particular system will not recognize any other thing. Okay, whether cloned or it will not recognize any other thing, which is what the card reader does actually.
Yeah.
And INEC has come out boldly to tell us that you cannot preload that card reader. You can't preload it.
Should we also be looking at the trust issue between the legislature and the executive?
Clearly, there's a trust issue. There's a trust gap. No doubt about that. And knowing fully well that let me pick it from here. The Honorable Minister for Transport, former Governor Chibuke Rotimi Amechi, made a statement during the launch of the official launch of, was it GoGan now? Yeah, Good Governance, just a day before the presidential campaign was flagged off. He made a statement while he was leaving, after he read what he has achieved as a minister. He said, well, some of us were with us here, but they left to the other party. But don't mind them, we know ourselves. End of quote. I'm not part of them. He was making bold to say that, see, even the guys that moved to PDP, we know ourselves. None of these parties, as it were, whether the legislature or the executive, are actually putting the interest of the average common Nigerian as number one. It might come as number two, it might be number three. In fact, it might be 1.5, but I can assure you it's not one, because the number one thing on an average politician's table or bucket list when elections are coming is how to win. That's just it. So every other thing comes later. So whether or not this one is in the opposition or is in the whatever, whoever is dying because of APC or PDP is just doing himself or herself a disfavor.
Now, since this directly affects that common man who is secondary on their own to-do list, what should the average Nigerian take away from this?
We have our votes, and that's our power. I keep telling people. One good news for me is that INEC is gradually having some reforms which favors the people. And that's the fact that vote counts. I mean, people might really not put attention to that, but well, I know the government of them want to take credit for that. Yes, it happened. I mean, it's happening during their tenure. No problem. I don't have issues with that. But that, I mean, votes now count. That you can successfully say that this number of people that lined up to vote are the number of votes that you will count. It's not usual in Nigeria. I mean, we've seen a place where the total number of votes cast is more than the number of people that are registered at a polling unit in the same country. That tells us that the average electorate, I'm speaking to those who registered, that if you didn't register, don't bother. There's no point.
They can use it for subsequent elections.
There's no point. For those who registered, probably you have your PVC now, or you are awaiting it before elections. This information is for you. Now, for the average electorate, registered one, that vote, that PVC or TVC that you have now, which you call it PVC, is your power to decide who stays in government or who comes in. So irrespective of what they share, I mean, one person, whether trader money, market money, or somebody comes and gives envelopes, that's not my challenge. My challenge is this: we will be able to have a clear mind enough to decide who we want to vote, not on party lines now, not even on personality issues. We should be able to decide as a person that, see, after listening to so person's manifesto, I think this one will be able to do what I need. Not because he came from my part of the country, maybe because he's a northerner, or it's because he's a southerner, or because he's a pastor, or because he's an imam, he's a Muslim, he's a Christian. See, we need to begin to jettison such, archaic, I don't know, stereotyped mentality. It does not help. It has not helped. We are where we are today because of such thoughts.
Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Dayogun Bowale. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll go on a break. The next segment comes up in a moment. Stay with us.